Today on Time About the Movies, Merry Christmas, which is technically not for another couple months from now, but we are looking at Christmas week in 2011 with 6 big holiday releases, including Daniel Craig and Rooney Mara starring in the American version of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo from director David Fincher. We also have Steven Spielberg with the first of his 2 movies this weekend, along with Peter Jackson working on The Adventures of Tintin. Cameron Crowe is back with a new movie with Matt Damon and Scarlett Johansson called We Bought a Zoo. We have the other Spielberg release of the weekend, War Horse, a sci-fi thriller that's more hilarious than scary, The Darkest Hour. And we have the Oscar contender, which I think I said yesterday, Tom Hanks and Julia Roberts were in this one. I was wrong on that. Tom Hanks is in here, Julia Roberts is not. Even though she's in Larry Crown, the film that came out earlier in the year, this time it's Sandra Bullock. That's what I was thinking of here. I haven't seen this movie in a long time. Extremely loud and incredibly close. So that should pretty much tell you everything I know about that movie. So let's see what Christmas weekend has in store for us here. The last official weekend of the holiday of 2011. This is, of course, Time About the Movies.
Elizabeth, I want you to help me catch a killer of women. Rated R.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Let's take the kids and go see The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we are taking a look at the 6 films that make up December 23rd, 2011. And we are starting off with David Fincher's adaptation of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, of course based off the legendary books by Stieg Larsson. This time starring Daniel Craig as Michael Blomkvist and Rooney Mara as Lisbeth Salander, and tells the story of a man's mission to find out what's happened to a girl who's been missing for 40 years and who may have been murdered. I've talked about the other films in the series before. I love the books. I love the Millennium Trilogy of films that came out last year. They were in my top 10 for 2010. And not only that, but you've got David Fincher directing this, coming off of his great work with The Social Network. Daniel Craig and Rooney Mara perfectly cast. Steve Zissou, a veteran writer. There's no way this film could be bad at all, right? Ordinarily, I would say that this is where the disappointment comes into play here. But no, this is one of the few times where everything came together and made for a great, great movie. You get everything you want to see in a mainstream version of this, and then some, and it makes for one of the year's best movies. Daniel Craig, like I said, it's perfectly cast as Blomkvist. Rooney Mara giving easily the best performance of the film as Lisbeth Salander. I mean, I didn't think anybody could top Noomi Rapace, but lo and behold, here she is, and yeah, she knocks it out of the park. I mean, their chemistry together is really good. You also have great performances by Christopher Plummer and Stellan Skarsgård. Everything about this movie works very well. The film is nicely tightened and put together by Zissou. It's a shot-for-shot version of the original Swedish film, but it's not like the over-the-top, boring-as-hell piece of shit remake that Gus Van Sant did of Psycho 13 years prior to this. But this is also a movie that is very much worthy of that R rating. It is a very adult movie. There are a lot of cruel moments where Lisbeth is being raped by her guardian, and eventually she rapes him later on. But again, this happens in the other versions too, and in both versions it can be really cruel to watch. But it's worth it to see her get her revenge on this guy, and it's just like, hey, she's not just going to stand there and take that. Unlike, Sucker Punch. This is the anti-Sucker Punch right here. What she does is awesome, rewarding, and she just beats him the hell up. Sticks things up as you-know-what, forces him to watch him rape her to make sure that she gets full access to her account, even going as far as to say, tattooing "I'm a rapist pig" on her chest. I mean, it's cruel, but goddamn, that was fucking badass, man. That's what I love about Lisbeth Salander. I think she's one of those great female characters in entertainment, because even though she can take the worst abuse anyone can imagine, she fights back and does equally as cruel or even more cruel and rewarding things to said person. And Rooney Mara, I'm glad to see she got an Oscar nomination for this performance, because it was definitely worth it to see this performance play as well as it did. If you have to say anything that's not very good about the film, the last 15 minutes, I think, could have easily been trimmed down. I mean, the final conflict happens, and then we spend the next 15 minutes tying up the loose ends, and, that could seriously been trimmed down, or hell, even saved for a sequel, because this thing was a success, and you could have easily made another movie based off of the second book, but they never did it or anything. It's not bad or anything, it's just kind of like, it just feels unnecessary to throw that in there, honestly. But regardless, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is a really great shot-for-shot remake of the original Swedish film. Great cast, great direction, great storytelling. Rooney Mara's great as Lisbeth. I was really excited for the next film, and sadly, it took us 7 years to get it, and it was not any of them based off the original trilogy. It was based off the newer series of books, which we'll get to that when we get to 2018. But The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, great stuff overall. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie that we have here. Another great movie that came out this weekend. Steven Spielberg and Peter Jackson working together to bring us The Adventures of Tintin.
Great snakes! Of Tintin in VOD, 3D, and IMAX 3D, rated PG, December 21st.
I mean, just Steven Spielberg directing this, Peter Jackson producing it. The idea was that Jackson and Spielberg would be splitting directing duties on future films, but sadly, this film never had any sequels. And I say sadly because, yeah, this thing should have had sequels. But we have Stephen Moffat, the guy who gave us Doctor Who, Edgar Wright, the creator of the Cornetto trilogy, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End, and Joe Cornish, who did Attack the Block. Again, all these pieces coming together, you would think at first that this is going to be the greatest thing ever, and then you see it, and then it's going to be a disaster. But like The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, it's anything but that. It's amazing to watch. Having bought a model ship, the Unicorn, from a pound off a market stall, Tintin, voiced by Jamie Bell, is initially puzzled that the sinister Mr. Saccharine, played by Daniel Craig, another movie with him this weekend, should be eager to buy it from him, resorting to murder and kidnapping Tintin, accompanied by his marvelous dog Snowy, to join him in his gang as they sail to Morocco on an old cargo ship. Saccharine has bribed the crew to revolt against the ship's master, played by Andy Serkis, is Captain Haddock. But Tintin and Snowy and Haddock escape, arriving in Morocco at the court of a sheik, also who has a model of the Unicorn. Haddock tells Tintin that over 300 years earlier, his ancestor, Sir Francis Haddock, was forced to scuttle the original Unicorn when attacked by a piratical forebear of Saccharine. But he manages to save his treasure and provide clues to the locations in 3 separate scrolls, all of which were secreted in models of the Unicorn. With a cast that is talented and a crew that is stacked, I mean, this thing came together for something incredible. This has some of the best motion capture work you'll ever see in a movie. It's better than Avatar, easily. I mean, that was supposed to be groundbreaking technology, but here it's perfected so well. The cast is great. Jamie Bell is great as Tintin. Daniel Craig is great as the villain. The highlight of the movie, who's having a terrific year, Andy Serkis. I mean, this, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Arthur Christmas. I mean, he brings a lot to this movie, and he's just so much fun as Haddock in here. And he has a lot of the funniest moments of the movie. The action sequences and visuals are so well done here. They were rendered very well. Some of them even last for long periods of time without cutting, such as the chase in Morocco near the end of the film. Goes on for 2 whole minutes without one single cut. It's one of the best action sequences I've ever seen in the movie, and you really get invested in it. This really does feel like an Indiana Jones type of an adventure, which makes sense that it comes from a guy like Steven Spielberg, who was behind all the Indiana Jones movies until the most recent one. The movie is just great to watch. The 3D overall is just okay to look at. I think that's the film's only real flaw, because it's nothing really special. Nothing's really popping out of you in 3D, and it really isn't benefiting from being in 3D, but as a whole, it's nothing that special, but Steven Spielberg continues to prove why he's one of our great directors and treats this like a great live-action adventure made into a CG film. He does for this what Brad Bird did with The Incredibles. That's how good this movie was. I mean, this is a towering achievement of a movie. A lot of fun, a great action-adventure film that can appeal to everybody. Even though we don't really know the character of Tintin, we at least get a good introduction to him to audiences that don't know who this character is. I mean, I didn't know who he was, and I knew that he was on Nickelodeon and Disney Channel back in the day, but I never really saw the show back then. But hey, great introduction for anybody who doesn't know the character. It's visually stunning. The story is great. The direction is excellent. It's easily one of the year's best movies. No question about it. And it's the best Steven Spielberg movie that came out this year. And that's really not that hard to believe once we get to the next movie. But before we do that, though, let's take a look at Cameron Crowe's return to the big screen with We Bought a Zoo. Such a generic-ass title. I mean, I remember notably whenever Jake Norville was with Brad Jones and them on midnight screenings, he said for this movie, the name of the movie, We Bought a Zoo. We got a movie. Like, he was acting like the studio executive, and it's just kind of like, yeah, I agree with him. That's a really, really stupid title for a film. But it's based off of a memoir of the same name, and I guess they're trying to capture the Marley and Me audience, because this is a 20th Century Fox movie, and Marley and Me came out that same weekend on Christmas Day in 2008. But it's directed by Cameron Crowe, and it follows Matt Damon as a widowed father who purchases a dilapidated zoo for his family and takes on the challenges of preparing the zoo to reopen to the public with the help of Scarlett Johansson. Also, you have Thomas Hayden Church, Ellie Fanning, John Michael Higgins. A good cast overall in this movie, and the film itself is not bad per se, but it is very, very corny and very cheesy. It's the type of movie that, like I said, it's trying to go for the Marley and Me audience, and it's just not there, man. I mean, Marley and Me works because you got invested in the storyline, and it did pay off with a very sad but well done ending. This is a movie that's literally trying to grasp for that same audience and failing very miserably at it. I mean, I say failing miserably at it. It's just not a good movie. It's just kind of a bland film. Matt Damon and Scarlett Johansson are kind of half-assing it through this film. There's not really a whole lot of laughs in here either. It's just kind of like a film they were trying to set up as this big family adventure film for the holiday season, and it's just not there this time around with them. And Fox has been pretty good with a couple of these movies as of the last couple of years, but this one, not so much. So yeah, it's a hard skip on We Bought a Zoo. And sadly, this is kind of the beginning of the end for Cameron Crowe, because his next movie he would do after this was the career-killing Aloha, which, yeah, that was a pretty bad movie, but we'll save that one for 2015. In the meantime, let's go ahead and see what Steven Spielberg also has for us, because he's back again with another movie opening this weekend, and that is War Horse.
Wherever you are, I will find you, and I will bring you home.
God, even that horse is looking at this guy and saying, lighten the hell up already. I mean, that's the biggest problem with this movie, is that it takes itself way too seriously for a plot that's way too stupid. This is a film about, takes place during World War I. It tells the story of Joey, a bay thoroughbred horse raised by a British teenager, played by Jeremy Irvine, as he is bought by the British Army, leading him to encounter numerous individuals and owners throughout Europe, all the while experiencing the tragedies of the war happening around him. And the film is just, it's one of the worst things Steven Spielberg has ever directed. I mean, that's saying a lot, because the guy very rarely misses, but yeah, this is the one that misses badly. This is right up there with The Lost World, Jurassic Park, in terms of the worst thing Steven Spielberg has ever directed. The whole plot of the film is a love story between this guy and his horse, and it's so generic and melodramatic that it's not even funny. You never feel for any of the characters in here. The story itself is such bullshit because it's trying to get a cheap emotional impact out of you, and is failing miserably at it. The actors are okay. You've got some pretty good talents in here. David Thewlis, Tom Hiddleston, Benedict Cumberbatch, Eddie Marsan, Toby Kebbell. Good people in here, and they're trying their best to work with the material given them, but come on. You're trying to act your way out of a story about a boy and his horse that he wants to bang. I mean, literally, that's literally what it's about. Like, this movie, it didn't work. It's a film that just doesn't work because it's melodramatic, it's lazy, it gets by with decent acting from the actors, some nice visuals, but other than that, it's a major misfire for Steven Spielberg. And on a weekend where he had one of his best movies with The Adventures of Tintin, this is the one where he clearly wasn't putting his all into it. I mean, at least in movies where he was trying to get that Oscar, The Color Purple or Empire of the Sun, he was at least putting some effort into it with the storytelling, but here, not so much. This one is pretty bad. But it's at least tolerable, and makes sense, unlike our next movie, which is a sci-fi thriller, but it's one of the most goddamn hilarious things I've ever seen in my entire life. The Darkest Hour.
It's ours.
You gotta be kidding me. Oh my god. The first time I watched the trailer for this, I thought to myself, this is a joke, right? This has to be a parody. This cannot be a real movie by any means necessary. Sorry for the light changing. I'm just going to the next page here, but no, this is an actual movie that people were very serious about. And they decided to put this out on Christmas Day. And spent $65 million to put it out. I haven't had a good laugh like that in a while, I'll tell you what. But, what's the story of this movie? American software designers Sean and Ben travel to Moscow to sell their software to investors. However, their Swedish partner Skylar pulls a fast one on Sean and Ben, and they are out of the business. They go to a nightclub where they meet Americans Natalie and Anne, an Australian Anne, because why the hell not? They flirt with the girls and see Skylar in the club. Out of the blue, the population is surprised by lights, which they mistake for natural phenomena, but soon they learn the lights are aliens invading Earth, and use the power supply to annihilate mankind. So these little lights are aliens. Like, we can't get any lazier than this, people. This is ground zero. Sorry, there's still more plot here. Sean, Ben, Natalie, Ann, and Skylar hide in the kitchen. When they leave the place, they seek out survivors on the street. Are they the last people on Earth? Oh, I hope so, because if anybody else on this planet was completely destroyed by these tiny little specks of light, then these people deserve to be the last people on Earth. I mean, my God, what a horrible, horrible movie. There is zero effort put into this whatsoever. The most threatening thing are these little tiny specks of light. Like that right behind me could be an alien right now that could destroy me in the most cartoonish way possible. I'm sorry, there's no way to take this seriously when the first thing you see of these aliens attacking is a dog getting obliterated in the stupidest way possible. This is one of the dumbest movies I've ever seen in my entire life. This is really stupid. Everything about this movie sucks. I mean, this cast, Emile Hirsch, Max Minghella, Olivia Thirlby, Rachel Taylor, Joel Kinnaman, they all deserve much better movies than this. This right here is ground zero for stupid sci-fi movies. A film that's trying to start a big sci-fi franchise for some entertainment because, hey, the Twilight series is coming to an end, and we didn't think we could get any stupider than those movies, but here we go, right here. Just fucking awful, man. Just what a terrible, terrible movie. Like, what more do you have to say? The Darkest Hour. Absolutely fucking awful. So, with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last movie that we have here. And we turn the tide with our last film that we have here. Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, like what I am right now.
Rated PG-13, now play.
Yeah, funny story about that Oscar nomination for Best Picture and Max von Sydow. We'll get to that in a little bit here, bud. A troubled young boy named Oscar is trying to cope with the loss of his father, who died on September 11th, and coincidentally, this is being recorded on September 11th, 2025, so what perfect timing, I guess, but Oscar starts lashing out at his mother and the world, until a year later he discovers a mysterious key in his father's belongings and embarks on a scavenger hunt to find the matching lock, just as he used to help to when his father was alive. On this journey, he is bound to meet a lot of people and learn a lot about himself and his family, but will he ever find the lock? And will this movie stop trying to grab Oscar buzz here? Because this movie, yeah, let's talk about the controversy behind this, because, you know, everyone thought before this was going to be an Oscar contender for Best Picture, as Stephen Daldry's last two films got Best Picture nominations. However, this thing got thrashed by critics, 54% on Rotten Tomatoes, and, you know, it was a film that even the other Oscar ceremonies, the Golden Globes, the BAFTAs, the Screen Actors Guild Awards, did not deem it a major contender. The Golden Globes, back when they were scummy, didn't think this was a major contender. And yet, it got a Best Picture nomination, and many people called it the worst Best Picture nominee ever. And Max von Sydow got a Best Supporting Actor nomination too, which was also met with some controversy as well. And you know, there's been a lot of bad Best Picture nominees and Best Picture winners, and this one, I wouldn't say it's bad, but it's literally the definition of an Oscar bait movie. It's a movie that has two people who have already won Oscars, Tom Hanks and Sandra Bullock. A cast also includes Viola Davis, John Goodman, Jeffrey Wright, and has the writer of Forrest Gump behind it, Eric Roth. So yeah, they were clamoring for an Oscar that badly, and people saw through the bullshit right away, and it didn't do well at all. Like, it was a film that really could have been replaced by so many other better movies in 2011, but this film really was not a good movie. This was not a film that was very boring. Nothing about it made it fun or made it enjoyable overall. The acting is kind of bland. Tom Hanks and Sandra Bullock very rarely make bad films where they're trying to be serious actors, and this is one where I really do think they missed the mark on it big time. It just wasn't enjoyable, and there's nothing about it that makes me say it's a film that deserves a Best Picture nomination. It's not a bad Best Picture nomination, but I would have liked if it had gone to a much better movie that came out in 2011, but the fact that this was literally probably bought and paid for an Oscar nomination for Best Picture, I mean, that's pretty much everything you need to know about how bad this movie was. I mean, I don't even... bad's an understatement, like I said. It's just a boring movie. It's just not an enjoyable film. It's a movie that is clamoring for Oscars so badly and just fails miserably at every single level at it. It just doesn't work. Extremely loud and incredibly close. It's not anything that's worth it. So before we get out of here, I guess you kind of realize that I'm kind of sitting at a lower angle than I was before. Yeah, the pump in my chair here is broken, and it was kind of like moving as I was doing these reviews, so that's why I'm kind of lowered here this time around. But yeah, I think I'm just going to keep it here for the foreseeable future until I feel like I need the urge to get rid of this chair, because I can still sit in this chair. It's just I can't use the pump as much as I did before for some reason. Like, it's just, I could get a new one, but I'm just not going to deal with it right now. But anyway, that's why I'm kind of at a lower angle than I did when I started this off. But also, I had planned for next week for the next episode to be the 2011 Leftovers episode, but considering we still have a couple of movies for 2011 coming up on the next episode, including Meryl Streep's Oscar-winning performance in The Iron Lady, as well as Pariah, which features a great performance by Kim Wayans, we'll use that show for that, and then we'll save the 2011 Leftovers for the next week, because the next week, the first week of 2012, has only one new release, The Devil Inside. So I will save this right here, this list of movies that I have here that I won't show just yet, for the show after tomorrow's show. So, like I said, next time around, we'll take a look at the two films that wrap up 2011, The Iron Lady and Pariah. So, with all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do me the honor of going ahead and hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification button. And also don't forget to check out the playlist, and also don't forget to check out the last episode we did. So with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.